Army Police remain standing for the national. The Inaugural anthem. Please. It took an American R&B singer, Tina Turner, to popularize a song that was born out of her personal experience from a marital affair with her husband then, Ike Turner, to popularize the words, "What's love got to do with it?" Today, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, an academic band is about to popularize a similar construction. This will be what has finance got to do with it. We're about to find out in no distance time from now, as the ball is now rolling. All seems set for us to unveil the 19th inaugural lecture of the National Open University of Nigeria. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure before the inaugural lecture on the Russian to let us know exactly what she has got under her heart. Let me kindly recognize the members of the high table before some of our dignitaries who will not be familiar with who and who is at the high table. It's my privilege this morning to bring to your notice that seated at the high table is the Vice Chancellor of the National Open University of Nigeria, an accomplished professor of scientists of international record, Professor Olufemi Peters. So you're most welcome. Then the Vice Chancellor, of course, the inaugural lecture is his business. So he is the chairman of today's event. Let me also recognize at the high table the Deputy Vice Chancellor in charge of academics, Professor Oji Uduma. It's my pleasure to notice at the high table seated the Deputy Vice Chancellor in charge of administration, Professor Isaac Bosworth. Let me also recognize the Deputy Vice Chancellor in charge of technology, innovation, and research, Professor Monolua Onlani. It's my pleasure to recognize the Registrar of the National Open University, Sir Felix, also Dr. Ernest Odega, Acting Librarian, Dr. Angela Wala. Let me also recognize the Dean, Faculty of Social Sciences, Associate Professor Moses Tribal, of course, the faculty where the inaugural lecturer is coming from. You may as well recall that she is the immediate past dean of that faculty. Distinguished invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, also at the high table is the reason we're all gathered here, the person who will be deconstructing the topic, what has finance got to do with it, at this 19th inaugural lecture. It's my privilege and honor to recognize Professor Ganiyat Adejoke Adesina-Uthman, who is well seated at the high table. Seated at the high table is the university orator, Professor Obeji. Let me at this very moment kindly recognize the registrar of JAM, who is here with us. May I kindly invite that you join us at the high table, please. Distinguished invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, without taking too much time, let me just quickly run through some of the guests we have here, some present here, and some joining us. It's a privilege to Dr. Adeniyi, a director of the CBN, Dr. Emomogi Agama, a director from the Security and Exchange Commission. Also joining us here is Professor Ben Okanebu from the Nile University of Nigeria, Professor Ebele Amali from Nile University of Nigeria, and a whole lot of people who are joining us from different spheres of life. Distinguished invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, kindly permit me at this very moment to go straight to the business of the day by inviting the chairman and the vice chancellor of the National Open University of Nigeria, Professor Olufemi Peters, for his opening remark, and subsequently invite the the inaugural lecturer for the business of the day. Sir. The registrar of Joint Admission Application Board, my Egmont, who is here, Professor Ishak Oloyede, the principal officers who are here, the deputy vice chancellors of the National Open University of Nigeria who are here seated, the deans and directors of the National Open University of Nigeria who are here seated, and especially the Dean of the Faculty of Social Sciences who is here seated with us. The distinguished vice chancellors of neighboring universities who have been opportune to also come and share this joyous occasion with us today. The Chairman, National Hajj Commission, who has graciously been here with us, Barrister Hassan. The friends and families of the inaugural lecturer herself. The husband
May I ask him to please stand up, the husband to our inaugural lecturer, who today, please clap for him. He's a professor as well, Professor Uthman. Distinguished friends, distinguished audience of the university, and lastly, but not the least, the person on whom we all gather there today, that's the Professor Ganiyat Adejoke Adesina-Uthman, PhD of the Department of Economics. I want to welcome all of you to this very important occasion. Like some of you may well know, this is a custom in the university that at one time or the other, an academic is called upon to give an account of his or her stewardship. And that is why we have gathered here today to listen to an erudite scholar, Professor Ganiyat, as we normally call her in the university, to render to us stewardship from the time she joined the academic world. The title of her presentation, many of you will have seen it. It read, "What has finance got to do with it?" Now, I don't know how she got this title, but I do know that there used to be one woman, Tina Turner, who had a title similar to this. And if I look at it, what really has finance got to do with the way we live? If you don't have money, there is no source of the finance. Our life is after sun, is basically zero. But this is talking from my point of view. I'm a chemist. By the time the economist comes and dissect what finance got to do with it, we don't know what with it means. Whether it's with us, whether it's with our lives, whether it's the university, whether it's ourselves. Well, these are the things that should take us through. So ladies and gentlemen, I am extremely privileged once again to present to you our inaugural lecturer, the 19th in the series of the National Open University of Nigeria. Thank you as you're listening to her. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. I stand on the protocol that has already been established, even by the lecturer herself. And I say good morning once more. You know, in Africa, if you greet good morning and you don't answer, that means we're fighting. Good morning, everybody. The Vice Chancellor, sir, distinguished professors, ladies and gentlemen, allow me, with the permission of the Vice Chancellor, to provide the citation of our lecturer for today. And we all know that our lecturer for today is Professor Ganiyat Adejoke Adesina-Uthman. And she was born on the 5th April 1972. It's a wonderful coincidence. Today is her birthday. Permit me to wish you a happy birthday, along with other people. So she was born on that day to the family of late Alhaji Asimui Albidoye and Alhaja Risikat Arilade Adesina. From their names, Alhaja and Alhaja, you would know that or note that she was born of deeply religious people. And for that, we are in no doubt that Professor Ganiyat, from the beginning, underwent deep religious education and Western education. Her Western education began with the Ibadan Municipal Government School from 1984, popularly known as IMG Eleta, and from there she proceeded to Ibadan City Academy, ICA. A year after, she was admitted into Ibadan Polytechnic, where she started her career at the Adejoke campus as she entered to study banking and finance. And there, her passion caught fire. That campus ended up being a full-fledged polytechnic in the 1993-94 session, and she moved to Ibadan from where she graduated. She ended her education at that level with her set at the Ibadan main campus, where she pursued vigorously her love for finance and banking. She pursued this academic passion until when she earned her PhD in economics at the University Putra in Malaysia, UPM, in 2011. And we're all sitting down as if now beans. You clap for her. It's not moi, you clap for her. She capped it all with her professorial chair in 2021. I salute. Man is also a certified facilitator from the Open Polytechnic of New Zealand in 2015. Her academic excellence is also evidenced by the many awards she has received, amongst which are the DAAD Scholarship in 2020. This was sponsored by the German Rectors Conference, German Academic Exchange Services, Federal Ministry for Economic Cooperation and Development, and Honors-Brook University of Applied Sciences. She has received so many scholarships and awards that if I start, this is part 1 or part 1.5 of the inaugural lecture. However, among these awards, we note the Outstanding Academic Achievements Award by the Ibadan City Academic Alumni in 1989, which shows already the path of excellence she intends to tread. She's also a mentor, a strong fighter, a strong holder of women's faith, of women's beliefs. She's an astute professor, an astute administrator, as she has proved that by being the immediate past dean of Faculty of Social Sciences, and we're not clapping for her. She held this post for 2 terms, from 2016 to 2020. In that faculty, she was also deputy dean. She had been deputy dean. She had been head of Department of Economics, postgraduate coordinator, and other responsibilities the faculty wanted her to bear. And characteristic of Professor Adesina-Uthman, she always carried out every responsibility with determination and efficiency. I met her here and I never heard of her failing in any responsibility. Please, let's clap for her. Professor Ganiyat Adesina-Uthman is a fellow of managerial economics, fellow of Institute Islamic Finance Professional, fellow Institute of Chartered Economists of Nigeria and Ghana, and member of over 10 professional, and I'm being modest here, member of over 10 professional and religious national and international organizations. Apart from the professorial chair she holds at the National Open University, she is a visiting professor, she is a consultant, she's an editor-in-chief, she's an editor of other institutions and journals. With all these achievements, Professor Ganiyat Adesina, that's the one that counts at the end, is a hardworking mother. Please clap for her. She's an achieving wife. She's a support at the home front and is happily, sir, I'll plead with you at this point to stand up, is happily married to the very supportive and encouraging Professor Ibrahim Uthman. She couldn't have done any of these things if she didn't have support at the home front. And so we thank you, sir. Thank you, Ms. Sita. And she's married to Ibrahim Uthman, and the union is blessed with children. She has not allowed her role as a woman or a wife or a mother to deter her from attaining great heights in her career. And I want to encourage young women in our midst to take note of her. Mr. Vice Chancellor, sir, ladies and gentlemen, permit me to present this beauty and bronze as she comes to the podium to present her lecture. Let's welcome her, all standing. Let's stand and welcome her. And she provides for us today what has finance got to do with it. Let's journey with her.
Thank you so much. Please be seated. Thank you so much. I feel so highly honored. Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Vice Chancellor, sir. The DVC ACAD, DVC Administration, DVC Technology, Innovation and Research, my Honorable Registrar, the Bossa, the Librarian, all these and directors here present, honorable colleagues within and outside National Open University of Nigeria, all chief imams and religious organizations here present, their vice chancellors and provosts here present, my dear alumni, IMG, ICA, IBAPOLI, FEDPOLI, IIUM, UPM, DAAD, and others, physically and present online. Essay to the President, Mr. Femi Adesina, DGs, MDs, and XSG here present, directors as well. My love and mentor, Professor Adesina-Uthman. Give me 1 minute to read from my. Yeah, my children, born and adopted from all universities across the world, gentlemen of the press, ladies and gentlemen. I start in the name of Almighty Allah, the beneficent, the merciful. This is by the grace of my Lord. He may test me whether I give thanks for his bounty or act with ingratitude. Whoever is grateful is sold to his own goods. And whoever is ungrateful, let him know that my Lord is immensely resourceful, most merciful, most bountiful. So remember me and I will remember you. And thank me and never be ungrateful. I have a singular honor today by the grace and glory of Almighty Allah, who I owe my existence to and who has been there for me all my life. Alhamdulillah. My inaugural lecture titled, "What has finance got to do with it?" may receive a simple answer. That is, finance has got a lot to do with it, or finance has got nothing to do with it. However, there are more to it than meets the eyes. This seemingly simplified answer may refer to the role of finance in the life of individuals, corporate firms, and even just as it may encompass what finance has got to do with professorial chair and, in fact, my personal choice of academic expertise. I was motivated by my father's work and his entrepreneurial acumen to study banking and finance and economics since 22 years ago, and became a professor after his demise. My vice chancellor, sir, I discovered that not just individuals, but also that and financing have got a lot to do with firms and government. Talking about financial economics and economics of finance, individuals need to finance housing, health, transport, clothing, housing, labor, education, families, friends, and among many others. This is due for government and firms who are to provide some of these needs and services through financing as well. Then the question is, why the economies of finance? Economic of finance may be linked to the monetary target, monetary policies, and types of exchange rate in an economy. No wonder a former deputy governor of the Bank of England said, and I quote, in the UK, over the 20 years following the breakdown of the Bretton Woods agreement, we tried everything from policies to several varieties of monetary targets and finally fixed exchange rate, and they all came to a sticky end. This is Sir John Gieve. Consequently, finance of a corporation, of the corporate organization, an individual in an economy have a direct relationship with that of the economic of financing of a nation. If the UK tries several varieties of monetary target to fix the nation, Nigeria can. Malaysia tried varieties of fixed rates, and today one can conclude that they got it right, Nigeria can. If Japan, with national debt of over $9 trillion US as at 2021, can be rated among the best developed economies in the world, she must have directed her debt stock to development and avoided diversion and enrichment of individuals at the expense of the nation. For the US, with national debt of over $30 trillion as of yesterday, which make it to become the most indebted nation in the world in terms of the absolute value of the debt, is also a power to reckon with. Then, what is wrong with Nigeria, the giant of Africa? To answer this question, economists have searched and researched. They have investigated and evaluated different problem-solving theories and models that provide solutions to this question. The solutions range from different areas of alternative financing, addressing the issue of unbankables in the economy, the leakages in the financial system, ensuring women financial inclusion, microfinancing, financial stability, and insurance financing, a lot, poverty alleviation, infrastructural financing, income and happiness, financing population, financing social support, social finance, and many others. All these need to be associated with the rule of law, strong institutions, standard of living, peace and security, foreign reserves and foreign affairs, all for economic growth and development. All the above economies of financing and many others are interwoven in a cobweb known as the financial environment. Within and outside our economy, it's real interesting to know that I am one of those who have contributed and lend my voice to these economies of financing areas for Nigerian economic growth and development and global economies. Let us go together through my academic and contribution to the fields of financial and development economics. Mr. Vice Chancellor, sir, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I started off with studying liquidity of banks in Nigeria and later moved to International Islamic University, where my first academic article as a GTA at the College of Economics at the university was presented at the International Conference on Poverty in the Muslim World. In this article, I engaged the problematics of economics of finance in the Muslim world and provide some answers to the questions on why the increase in poverty in the Muslim world. I also explicate on how globalization has led to changes in the social structures and social systems in third world countries with the attendance of oppressive capitalist values. I finally called for critical analysis of globalization agenda by Muslims for them to address the financial and economic challenges posed by it. Sequent to the above research, I was soon intrigued by the manner Muslim investors introduced a new instrument of debt-based financing known as Sukuk, Islamic bonds. I became interested in knowing more about Islamic economics and what it has to offer in terms of mobilization and allocation of resources. I also wish to know through my search the profit rate of this type of financing. The above interests informed my PhD research topic, and in a preliminary report, I proposed a two-factor model with no arbitrage structure to vary with profit rate and a time-dependent thrift. Thus, I began my academic journey into the core aspects of financial economics at the University of Putra, Malaysia, though the foundation was laid at IIUM by my MSc Internal Supervisor, Professor Azmi Umar. Finance growth nexus debate has been so controversial that research on this topic is inconclusive. In 2009, I examined the effect of financial development on economic growth on a panel of 9 African countries, cross-sectional observation for 22 years. I find that financial development is momentously significant to economic growth. This asserts why finance has got a lot to do with it. With poor economic growth, the general standard of living is affected. Consequently, African countries need to focus on developing the capital and the money market, where players, that is individual, corporate, and government, can have adequate access to quality financing to enhance economic growth, and I say finance leading, growth following. The thought of financial inclusion tool of the 21st century, especially to assist those who are not captured in the finance growth nexus, the unbankables, led to the investigation of microfinance institutions for sustainable financing and hence poverty reduction in Malaysia. In the study, I find that Malaysia MFIs are not self-sufficient. They are heavily dependent on government grants, donors, local financing, and savings of members. However, they were able to reduce cases of hardcore poor and incidents of poverty decreased greatly during the period I examined. Mr. Vice Chancellor, distinguished guests, reading my first article as GTA on poverty in the Muslim world and further reading into units of currency in the Islamic economy system, reviewed gold as unit of currency with intrinsic value. Gold was a means of financing international trade and the gold standard till Bretton Woods Conference in 1944. What is the socio-economic implication of abolishing gold standard as international monetary unit? This caught my attention, especially the instability associated with it. I investigate the alternative monetary system in the Islamic economy and recommend the use of gold payment system, GPS, employing gold dinar in bilateral and multilateral trade of Muslim countries, first, just like the Kukuk started, to reduce foreign exchange risk, and secondly, to promote egalitarian Muslim society with financial stability. I led a team of researchers from University of Kebangsaan, Malaysia, UKM, Department of Mathematics, to examine own damage, third property claim damage, Malaysian motor insurance. Basically, financial losses, especially associated with motor accidents, was examined through estimation of models. We find that while own damage increases the risk of Malaysian insurer by 2%, third-party property damage claims increases it by 15%. By inference, we recommend that Malaysians are encouraged to take up motor insurance policy to minimize risk of financial loss that could be associated with a motor accident. Has finance got to do with it? Coming back home to West Africa, though some African member countries are leading members of OPEC, poverty or lack of financing for necessities of life is at an alarming rate due to high rate of corruption in this region. I and Uthman, 2011, highlight how Islamic money culture, Islamic financial engineering, and all the Islamic mechanisms such as zakat, that is Islamic tax system, can be deployed as alternative financing for economic development in West Africa, taking cue from the Asian continent. I recall that in 2011, shortly after I completed my PhD and arrived back to Nigeria, my very good brother and family friend, here seated today, Air Commodore Lukman Abiodun Lawal, the Director of Directorate of Islamic Affairs, the Nigerian Air Force, called my husband to notify him of an advert in the newspaper calling for commission papers on Islamic financing in Nigeria. A call by Nigerian Institute of International Affairs, NIIA, under the leadership of the then Director General, Professor Akiteruwa. I presented my first commission paper. I was paid for that anyway, yes, and I enjoyed that proceed on banking and appraisal of its exigencies and idiosyncrasies under the chairmanship of that emeritus political scientist, past Director General of NIIA and former Minister of Foreign Affairs, that is Professor Bolaji Akinyemi. I can't forget him since that day. At this gathering, I quoted in my paper the saying of the USA Federal Reserve Chairman, Mr. Alan Greenspan, who was reported to have slammed the table at a discussion on Enron bankruptcy in 2002. He said, there has been too much gaming of the system. Capitalism is not working. There has been a corrupting of system of capitalism. Yes, Alan was right. In search of alternatives to capitalism by countries, especially the Muslim countries, there have been a wave of new paradigm that is known as Islamic banking and finance. In this article, I stress the point that banking and finance activities are integral part of man-to-man activities, whether political, economics, or social activities. Maybe that is why morality and ethics are the third element that must go alongside faith and Islamic law. I call on the Nigerian government then to embrace the paradigm shift for infrastructural development, licensing, banking, and financing system in Nigeria, because this alternative financing has got a lot to do with development waves, not only in the Muslim country, but in the West and Europe. I cited the example of First to Cook issued by the United States, Gulf of Mexico, using hydrocarbon reserves as an asset class in 2006. Germany's first Sovereign Sukuk issued by state of Zazomi and Hunt in 2004. First of its kind in the Western country and Europe. This Sukuk was actually listed in Luxembourg and Bahrain. I also cited the Dubai Property Development Sukuk issued in 2006 as well, and Dubai Metals and Commodities Center Gold-linked bonds that allow investors to receive payment in gold bullion or US dollar. In 2012, myself and Muhammad added to the debate on dichotomy between conventional and Islamic bond to see if the argument that such in Sukuk or in Islamic bond is driven by its resurgence rather than profit sharing, as well as risk sharing paradigm. Using similar non-Markovian two-factor models of HJM and BDT, we estimate Brownian motion for short and long-term factors with risk neutral and forward profit and interest rates of corporate and government bonds in Malaysia, that these are not good predictors of future spot rate. And that means that the association hypothesis is not supported by our research. By inference, the study concludes that there are positive effects of regulations in the Malaysian capital market, which has forestalled arbitrage and speculation. We also observe that the dichotomy does not exist in the conventional and Islamic bonds. Rather, Islamic bond is driven by its profit and risk-sharing trait, meaning that investors, individuals and corporate investors, are rational investors, seeking to minimize risk and maximize profit, perceive Sukuk bonds as a better alternative means of financing and investment. Mr. Vice Chancellor, sir, the above research findings sparked my contribution to the introduction of non-interest banking in Nigeria. Working with some of alumni from IIUM, we published a book, Essentials of Islamic Banking and Finance in Nigeria, edited by Dandango, Muhammad, and Husseini. They are all professors and doctors. They are my alumni. Therein, I took a perspective view of the future of Islamic banking and finance in Nigeria, because the banking sector is one of the most components of financial sector in an economy. This research provided an insight for the Nigerian government and policymakers on how significant Islamic finance is as tool and driving factor for economic development. Best example from Malaysia and Bahrain were discussed, and a lot of recommendations for operators, policymakers, and supervisory, as well as the authorities in that paper. It is therefore gratifying to know that today there are 3 full-fledged Islamic banks in Nigeria: Jais, Taj, and Lotus Capital banks in Nigeria. Finance has got much to do with it. Again, in 2013, I was called upon by my PhD external examiner from the University of New Orleans, Professor Kabir Hassan, to research on, is the long-term profit rate of Malaysians a good predictor of it? I did the paper. It was presented by one of my professors at a conference in Macau, China. And this conference was organized by Malaysian Finance Association. The paper was selected among the paper published in Malaysian Capital Market Review in 2013. I will skip our finding there. You have the details with you. But has finance got to do with it? Yes. Finance has got a lot to do with investment in the bond market and investors' association of streams of income. It's based on how risk averse they can be. Individual investors, therefore, prefer a horizon where they feel safe with their money than taking too much risk of losing their funds. Mr. Vice Chancellor, sir, in 2014, at the height of corruption, when legislation of pension packages for some ex-governors by themselves rented the hair, my attention was called to the effect of corruption on the Nigerian economy and how people are suffering despite abundant resources. This made me to rethink how developed African economies would have been if investment in infrastructure is well financed, if it is given desired attention, and if corruption is at its lowest ebb. And if fund allocated to financing capital projects for public use is spent judiciously on the projects for societal benefit. Consequently, I examine physics of corruption by interrogating the topic, standards and the science hypothesis, corruption in Nigeria and sustainable economic development. Applying the standards and the science theory, where the standards opine that corruption puts stands in the wheel of economic development. And the research said, no, corruption greases the wheel of economic development. Are you a greaser or a sander? Check your hat. Will you support that corruption actually greases economic development? In this paper, physics of corruption was exposed for corporate corruption, such as administrative bribery, known as speed money, which when received by government officials becomes bureaucratic corruption. Then we have legal corruption. Do you know that? Legal corruption is when you pay legal lobbying fees when collected, especially when the legislature collect that proceed or lobbying fees. Then we have illegal corruption, which is abuse of public office for private gain. River recommends investment of corporation proceeds, into financing infrastructural facilities after finding that the greasers in Nigeria are out to prove the standards right. So are you a greaser or a sander? Stop financing corruption, finance growth and development. I have also ventured into the investigation of infrastructural development challenges in emerging nations and how Sukuk Islamic bond can be applied as solution. Distinguished listeners and Mr. Vice Chancellor, it may interest you to know that my first book was published in 2015 on the title is Time Structure of Profit Rate and Sukuk Bond Pricing, Mathematics Laboratory Stochastic Simulation, published by Cambridge Scholar Publishing, and is also cataloged in the British Library. Please grab your copy now. Still selling on Amazon. Taking my research journey further, a follow-up study on my 2014 findings on liquidity preference theory led to the investigation of liquidity premium theory. And in that research, I actually found that Sukuk Islamic bond is like conventional bonds in providing long-term financing to borrowers and lenders in the capital market. A broad battery of statistical evidence reveals that Sukuk holders' expectation lends support to liquidity premium theory. Mr. Vice Chancellor, sir, within the same year, Bakari, myself, and Dosumo from Faculty of Management, who is a mentee, published another paper on the global financial crisis and macroeconomic performance in Nigeria. I would like to be skipping. We have a lot of findings, and based on our findings, we recommend that we advocate for responsive collaborative effort between the government and the monetary authorities in pragmatic policies formulation and implementation that can absorb external shocks and stimulate FDI. Economic diversification for boosting GDP, optimal exchange rate, and inflationary management are also recommended in that paper to manage further global financial crisis. With this, foreign direct divestiture may be reduced as economic or finance got to do with it. Mr. Vice Chancellor, knowing fully well that Nigerian monolithic economy cannot but suffers from shocks arising from oil price volatility. In 2017, following another oil price shock in our economy, I also investigate the effect of shocks on some macroeconomic variables in Nigeria. And the study revealed that one-time shock to crude oil prices produces persistent and significant effect on real GDP and unemployment rates in Nigeria. Implementable policies on diversification of non-oil sectors as productive base of the economy, such as agricultural sector, tourism, mining, services, and manufacturing, It's thus recommended to the federal government of Nigeria and concerned ministries as no diversification can truly be achieved without proper funding of production base of the economy. In fact, finance has got a lot to do with it. Moving from the diversification to know how income and can contribute to individuals' happiness, and what can individual even do without income, without financing. Recall that utility is a function of income, while income is one of the salient factors on which individual well-being depends. Using income and non-income factor, Ganiyat, Adesina-Uthman, that is me, and Bakari, established a relationship between income and happiness in 2016. We find that people with higher income that are gainfully employed and have good health, no matter their age, their gender, or marriage status, are happier than those with low income and low level of education. In 2017, our immediate former Vice Chancellor, Professor Abdallah Obadamu, was invited as keynote speaker at an event commemorating the birthday of Professor Pat Utomi at Sheraton Hotel in Abuja here. He called me and said, Ganiyat, go and prepare a paper and then also be prepared to represent me at that occasion to present the paper. I was like, wow, okay. I did, I presented the paper. I went to Sheraton Hotel in the company of my Amazon ladies, Antonia, Dr. Vivian, and Symbiad. And we met with likes of Professor Soludo, Professor Gambari, Professor Pat himself, Pat Utomi himself, and the Minister for Science and Technology. I delivered the paper, and when I came back, I gave a feedback to my Vice Chancellor then. Then he said, Ganiyat, well done, but please, I love this paper, I want you to go and publish it. Please don't put my name. I was shocked. I said, thank you, sir. And I did publish with 9 University of Nigeria, Department of Economics. Aside from bringing to the fore recession lessons on the global perspective in terms of strategies adopted for economic recovery in worst recession witnessed by the United States of America, India, and China, a thorough and rigorous implementation of economic growth recovery and avoidance of diversion to achieve quick recovery was recommended, meaning that finance has got a lot to do with it. Mr. Vice Chancellor and distinguished listeners, thinking about the most vulnerable group during economic recession led myself and Vivian, Odishika 2017 to investigate the role of microfinance institutions in creating financial empowerment and inclusion of women in Nigeria. You know what we found? We found actually that women are financially excluded in Nigeria. Know that women are financially excluded, not that they are just excluded. Financial resources for women empowerment, remember, always give them the voice in decision making, not only about themselves, but also about the future generation. It is recommended that the outreach of microfinance institutions in Nigeria should be upgraded to the like of that of India, Thailand, Bangladesh, and Vietnam for fast poverty reduction and economic development. Has economic or finance got to do with it? Again, talking about development, political economic stability is key to it. That is what informed myself and Ohiaze 2018 to interrogate the implication of campaign funding on Nigerian economy, evidence from 2015 general election. We uncover that both APC and PDP exceeded the spending limit, and as a result, sorry, essay to the president, I have to say this, as a result, the already plummeted Naira value worsened. We recommend that political parties should adhere to the provision of the Electoral Act as amended in the electoral spending, and violators should be prosecuted to serve as deterrents. You will agree with me that even in politics, spending, financing has got a lot to do with it. Mr. Vice Chancellor and my Amibi audience, moving away from politics and financing to poverty, Ijaya and myself examine the effect of poverty, whether if poverty discriminates between genders, an examination of household property in Niger State. You can predict what we find, right? Yes, poverty discriminates and discriminates against women. And so, because of that, we recommend that policy mayors should address household poverty reduction through get child education and women's empowerment programs in Niger State, and indeed in Nigeria in general. To kill poverty, finance is the gun. By setting the finance growth nexus again, I employ remittance factor to examine causality effect of Nigerians' diaspora's remittances on GDP per capita in Nigeria and the causality between these two. I find on unidirectional causality flowing from GDP to remittance. That means that there must be a stable economy before we can attract funding or remittances from Nigerians in diaspora. No economic growth and development without financing. Again, in 2019, I studied the modern economic and Islamic economic system to see if there is a nexus. Of course, as a financial economist researching on both conventional and Islamic financial system, I find it imperative to add to the existing literature on the comparison between conventional and Islamic economic system, especially through their historical background. I trace the origin of modern economies to Judeo-Christian teachings, just like the Islamic economy was traced to Islamic revealed knowledge. I find both systems are from religious worldview. I explained that the divergence between the two economic systems is a major fallout of the Enlightenment ages. I opine that because of the Enlightenment, the modern conventional economic system has been moving away from its religious roots, while Islamic economic system that is back is a systematic way of returning the modern economic foundation to its religious roots. Getting sources of financing right is very key. In 2020, Mr. Vice Chancellor, I examined the efficiency and effectiveness of Nigerian capital market. I find that we actually can conclude that the market capitalization and the value of transaction in Nigerian stock market may not be adequate. We may not consider it to be adequate. And I also show in that research that volume of transaction, the capital market has significant positive impact on economic growth. And so I recommend that for optimal allocation of resources towards sustainable economic growth, market capitalization, and total value of stock traded should receive a boost through more entrances of local and foreign investors with huge investment base to increase volume of trading, which shows significant and positive relationship with economic growth. Trade can only be boosted with adequate financing. In 2020, during the COVID-19, when it was ravaging the world, I engaged one of my troublesome colleague, Obaka, to examine how people are coping financially during the lockdown. When I saw that all my savings are actually going onto unbudgeted face mask, hand sanitizer, fuel price increase, and we are consuming, we are eating, price of food also skyrocketed. And so we found that people are actually coping, but they said they have different coping strategies, and different people are employing different strategies. And this include that some of them actually, those who are salary earners went for salary advance. Those who are not salary earners said they went back to work. And that is why you see partial compliance to lockdown. And some said borrowing is their own option. They're just borrowing from friends and family. So the most preferred strategy for those in that category is what I've said. The policy implication of this finding is that social policies can indeed affect the social and economic well-being of citizens. The study recommends contingency savings habit to household to finance such financial crunch, because finance has got a lot to do with our existence. Because people just spend their little money. Nobody is actually having, most of them said they don't even know what is contingency savings. So they just, whatever they have, they spend and they exhausted it. So controlling inflation rate is a recommendation to the government as an important step for returning to normality in terms of price stability. The government of Nigeria needs to prioritize health sector in budgetary allocation for proper health care. You have to finance health, finance education, and that will be better for it. We recommend more social inclusion to the government alongside giving out bailouts to households, and I think that was done, but absently done. Social support for stability requires a great deal of financing. In 2020, Uthman, Adejoke, and Adejoke, I'm sure Adejoke is online watching, we examined money market and economic growth nexus in Nigeria. The finding of the SVAR model suggests that while shocks to money supply growth, prime and maximum lending rates have negative instantaneous impact on economic growth, shocks to treasury bills rates have a positive instantaneous impact on output. We conclude that this evidence will be useful to the monetary authorities to allow policy decisions to run its course. Therefore, pronouncing a fresh one, before pronouncing a fresh one on the same issue. Development will also help to avoid policy inconsistency. Well thought out monetary policy on money supply is key to development. Mr. Vice Chancellor, sir, my distinguished audience, kindly recall that there have been a lot of brouhaha about Nigerian debt level. And so IDEBI and HI in 2021 investigate the implication of fiscal policy on economic growth in Nigeria from 1984 to 1982 to 2020. And our results shows that total government expenditure has a positive effect on economic growth. That's fine. But on the other side, total tax revenue, public debt, and corruption have negative effect on economic growth. Therefore, we suggest that fiscal policy should be leveraged alongside mixed effect of monetary policy and judicious use of rule of law to ensure economic stability. In 2021 also, Hai and Obaka took a look at gender and human capital development with evidence from selected higher institutions in Nigeria. Of course, we find gender disparity. We find a male-centered framework in most of the higher institutions in Nigeria. The positions of authority and decision are being held by males. This paper suggests that organization must have gender orientation objectives and system of mainstreaming in human capital development in Nigeria. I've written a lot, actually, more than this, but even on other areas than not financial or development economy, but because of time, let me go to conclusions. In the year 2000, former President Olusegun Obasanjo, former President of Nigeria, commented on our national debt to the international creditors. He said, all that we have borrowed up to 1985 was around $5 billion, and we have paid about $16 billion, yet we are being told that we are owing $28 billion. And he said that $28 billion came about because of the industries in the foreign creditors' interest rate. I agree with him. He even said further that if you ask me what I ate most, I will tell you it is compound interest. Please recall that my opening message was Sir John Gift's statement on the fixed exchange rate. Former President Obasanjo also brought out from this statement the injustice embedded in the interest-based financial system globally. It is therefore pertinent to conclude that poverty alleviation, equality that we are also crying for, reducing the wide gap between the haves and the have-not, the financial inclusion of people, management of foreign exchange risk or financial stability, financing insurance, financing health, financing education, or curtailing corruption. More of all of this also can be achieved even better through alternative financing from revealed knowledge, that is Islamic economic system. Since there has been too much gaming of system of capitalism, since capitalism is not working, and since there has been a corruption of system of capitalism, borrowing from World of Greenspan 2002. Since there is injustice in foreign creditors' interest rates, borrowing from the word of Obasanjo, and since we have tried everything from process and income policies to several varieties of monetary targets, and they are all coming to a sticky end. According to Aristotle, interest taking was the most unnatural of all methods of getting wealth. Ibn Khaldun also added to this, and this was written by Chapra in 2008. He said, economy or society's development or decline does not depend on a single factor, but rather on the interaction of moral, social, economics, political, and historical factors over a period of time. And you are giving but a little knowledge. What do I know? Allah knows better. Recommendations. Finally, Mr. Vice Chancellor, sir, distinguished ladies and gentlemen of the press, these are some of my contributions to exist body of knowledge and policy recommendations for effective and efficient economics of financing for individual, corporate, and organization and government at all levels. Finance drive growth and growth drive more financing. However, linking the real sector with the financial sector is imperative. Migrating from the financial capitalism to financial socialism, which is the basis of Islamic economics, is again hereby recommended for individual, corporate, and government at all levels. Commendations. My Vice Chancellor, sir, through this journey, I have led teams of researchers locally and internationally, and currently I was appointed a visiting professor and head of academics at a center in UK, at CREED in UK. I've won several grants, and the most recent of it is the Senate Research Grant of National University of Nigeria. Thank you, Mr. Vice Chancellor. With my team, Dr. Vivian Odishika Wosin Friday Awiyaze and Obaka Inaugural. I've held several positions in the university. I've been a member of Senate. I've been a dean, HOD, and I've worked with several directorates of the university. Acknowledgements. Finally, Mr. Vice Chancellor, let me place on record the contribution of some notable individuals who Allah has used in motivating me one way or the other. Let me bore you with some stories. My dad, late Adesina-Uthman Adesina, alias AAA, left me to find my part immediately. I dropped my pen that I used to write WAHEC in 1989. I got determined to promote his good name even before his demise, when I saw that once a liquid man became illiquid but struggled to rise again after the change of Naira in the year 1986, which badly affected his business. I was one of his most trusted children, and at a tender age, I was entrusted with the proceeds of the iron and building material shop, AAA Additional Building Material, opposite my secondary school, City Academy. My alumni are online. They can testify to that. I pray that Allah forgive my loving father and bless his grave. Amen. To my loving mother, my loving and over-caring mother, Mama Oyinbo, stand up for recognition, please. Mama Oyinbo, as those who know you with me always call you when I was young, you struggle with finances, financing us with little income from your food, fruits, and drink business. Mama, you can sit down. I know my mother is over 80 years. From your food, fruit, and drink business at your Taylor Primary School, a hotel, Victoria Island in Lagos, where you are popularly known as Mama Ileso, fruit seller. Before you moved to Yanapaja, where you were selling till midnight to ensure that family finances were taken care of, since economic of inheritance failed you, despite the fact that my father was rich, but we suffered to rise, and you are there for us. We thank you, Mama. Long may you live. I'm glad you are still alive to witness these days, as the baby girl of exactly 50 years ago has become what I am today. Alhamdulillah. Those struggle made me to discover that economy, that is household finance, is imperative to survival. I learned maximization of utility subject to income constraint, first from you, Mommy, because before I met my teachers, I know you as the best mother in the world. Thank you, Mommy. At this juncture, it is therefore opposite that I thank those intellectual gurus on whose shoulders I rose to academic prominence. Starting with my supervisor, Professor Azmi Umar of International University, Professor Shamsia, UPM, Professor Kabir Hassan of New Orleans University, USA, Professor Muhammad Arif, Bond University, Australia. Again, let me bore you with another story. One morning at a hotel restaurant in Ilorin, my husband and I went for a breakfast, and we joined a table. We saw this beautiful couple, and I'm very glad that one of them is here, Professor and Professor Mrs. Amali. Professor Amali, please stand up for recognition. As we are interacting, she asked me a question, said, what are you doing? What are you doing here? I said, I came for this international conference organized, sponsored by Islamic Development Bank. I'm one of the those who enjoyed that scholarship to come from Malaysia to come and present the paper. Oh, okay, what's your field? I said economics. I said, oh, Ganiyat. Then when you are done with that PhD, please ensure that you come back to Nigeria, because currently we have about 3 or 4 female economics professors in Nigeria. I look at her in wonderment because I was like, when will I get there? Will I fly? But exactly 12 years after, I joined the female professors of economics in Nigeria. As the first and the only female professor of economics in the Department of Economics, in the Faculty of Social Sciences, and in NOUN, where I am the first female and pioneer dean, alhamdulillah. Professor Ebele Amali, Mama, thank you so much. I thank you for making our path to cross. I thank you for those few words. I kept dreaming of them, actually, and I kept dreaming of achieving it, working towards it, and our last is B, and it was. Your other female professors have retired, but you are not tired. Thank you, Mama. We met again at University of Nigeria, courtesy of Professor Gillish. Professor Gillish, my dean, please stand up for recognition, please. Professor Gillish found me on Google Scholar in 2017, and since then engaged me in teaching at National University of Nigeria. Thank you, my dean. God bless you. And my former Vice Chancellor, Professor Adesina-Uthman Arase, former Vice Chancellor of National University of Nigeria. Thank you for believing in me. The duties you assigned to me during my sabbatical leave as Deputy Dean and Postgraduate Coordinator has further changed the narratives about my academic prowess. I heard of a female doctor, now a professor, Professor Risikat Dauda of University of Lagos. She's a model that I look forward to. And I was trying to follow her footsteps. I want to also greet and thank all other colleagues in that department at UNILAG, Professor Femi Shoaibu, Professor Akinleye, and a host of others, Dr. Odeleye, and all of you. I thank you all. I have great mentors, I have great fathers, and I have great mothers and senior professors. Let me bore you again with some stories. Let me start with Professor Sherif Teller of Olabisi Onabanjo. Let me read out just one of his text message to you. Ganiyat, I notice you are always online all night. Do you have time for your research at all? Don't let the online things distract you. I replied by thanking him and explaining that I may be online all night, but not online chatting. Albert, that was actually a wake-up call for me that I must burn more late night candles on research other than I was burning on headship as a dean and as HOD. Then Professor Sirajuddin Bankole of University of Ibadan. Let me also read out what he sent to me when he congratulated me for my full chair as a professor of economics. He's also a professor of economics. These two are professors of economics. He said, work has just started. The sky is the beginning. And I was like, the sky is the beginning or the sky is the limit. So buckle up. And I know you are up to the task. May Allah strengthen you. I say amen again to that prayer. Those words inspired me to work on this inaugural lecture and to know that work had just started. Thank you, sir and Maz. Thank you, my professors and mentors. I must not forget the president, former president of Nigerian Economic Society, my mommy, Professor Sarah Anyao. Are you in the hall, Professor Sarah Anyao? Please stand up for this. Thank you, Mama. She's always asking me, when will your professorial be announced? She's always calling, when will I call you a professor? The same thing, Professor Patrick Eya. I know he's on sabbatical. I cannot wait to call you a professor. This is what Professor Eya always tell me. I cannot wait to call you Professor Ganiyat. That's what he always say. Thank you, Sir Zamaz. I appreciate you. My former and first female DPC academic, Professor Joy Yisi, she always called me Darling Angel. And I want to thank you, Ma, for all those commendation letters you gave to me on some of my achievements when I was the Dean of the Faculty of Social Sciences. Professor Taufik Adesina-Uthman, Daddy, he always called me my daughter. Professor Latif Soni, the like of Mrs. Basira Soni and Engineer Wasif, they always call me my sister. And all members of MSS and DF, I thank you all. My former Vice Chancellor, Professor Abdallah Badam, I want to thank you for showcasing me everywhere and in Nigeria in general. Your slang, Kosi Owo, made me to work more on my grant-winning ability and networking. It led to laudable achievement that contributed to unforgettable records during your administration and mine as two-time Dean of the Faculty of Social Sciences. My former Dean, Professor Femi Otubanjo, your modeling me brought out the innate leadership skill that I so much appreciated. Professor Vincent Ogunlena, I thank you. Professor Isaac Oloyede, the JAM registrar, I thank you so much, Daddy. You are a great father. Little to Mama Oloyede, Dr. Mrs. Oloyede. Mama, please stand up for recognition. Mama Oloyede. Mama is always calling me when I was Dean and giving advice. When I'm lost, I call her and she's always there. Mama, stand up for recognition, please. Stand up, Ma. Thank you, Ma. I want to thank my father, Barrister Ziblai Azan. I saw him, he stepped out, I don't know. The Chairman, National Arts Commission, and former National President of MSS, and all other past leaders of MSSN. Once upon a time, the Vice Chancellor under whom I was employed in the year 2011, in person of Professor Vincent Adotenebe, looked for me in 2013 gave me an assignment and said, this thing is closing within a few hours. I've been looking for you for over 1 week. Nobody can locate you, but now I don't know if you can make it. I said, no problem, sir. I went to my system. Within 1 hour, I deliver on that assignment, and it got me added to those who are going to Tianjin, China. And I was the last to submit. I was the first to present when we got there. He said, I'm going, because you are the first on the schedule, I'm going to attend your session. He did, and he actually rewarded me with some monetary rewards. And all those who attended my session, my beautiful session, that one go a long way actually to boost our morale to stay back in NOUN. I remember Professor Shion Oyeweso, supposed to be around for us, Shion, because he said he would be here, except if he has flight delay. Professor Shion, the great historian from Osun State University, tried to hijack me to the university, to their university after international at PCF 7 in Abuja, but you encouraged me to stay in now. That is Professor Adejoke as a federal university with great opportunity. That might have changed the narrative. Actually, if Professor Shion, who threatened to report me to late Ariane Shikola, if he has done that, this might have changed the narrative today. Professor Adejoke, I want to thank you. He's the Vice Chancellor of Taraba State University. And I reward you, sir. Another big personality in my life is the pioneer Vice Chancellor, University of Uyo and Crescent University. I've actually rolled a lot with many Vice Chancellors. Professor Engineer Falala Sisi, who actually is a great mentor and guide and always give this guidance and counseling. Prof sponsor part of my PhD. So also Professor Latif Sonny, I can't forget your contribution to my PhD achievement. Thank you so much. Principal Ajibola, thanks for the job opportunity and for encouraging my husband and I to return to Nigeria after our study as pioneer staff of Crescent University of Nigeria. We are glad we are back home. I wish to use this opportunity to thank my dear professor and Imam of University of Ibadan, Professor Mufta Oloyede Abdurrahman, for your encouragement and spiritual guidance. I want to thank Professor Charles Tayo Adesina of the Department of History. He's been a supportive senior professor and a father, University of Ibadan. I want to say a big thank you to his brother, my brother from another mother, Mr. Femi Adesina. Stand up for recognition. Thank you so much. I think my Hemia is not able to make it, the Hemia of Pefi. If I contact them anytime for any occasion, they always give me moral support anytime I call on them. I thank you so much, sir. My dear brother, Professor Afis Ayinde Oladoshu, former Dean of Faculty of Art, University of Ibadan, and the current Dean, Professor Olatunji Alabi Oyeshile, the current Dean. I want to thank Professor Wale Abbas, the HOD of the Department of Arabic and Islamic Studies, where my husband worked. And I want to thank Professor Mrs. Lanre Bolatito of the HOD Department of Philosophy, University of Ibadan. My IUM alumni, I thank you. Professor Rashida, where are you? Professor Rashida, my darling twin sister, as people always call you. I think she's very busy organizing things, huh? She's not here. My darling sisters, Dr. Abib Oladeshu, Dr. Rukaya Tijani, Dr. Mistura Soni, I thank you. Professor Musa Ibino, are you in the hall, please? Professor Musa Ibino, the renowned academopreneur and Vice Chancellor, Summit University, a new Vice Chancellor in town. Dr. Ismail Tijani of Abu Dhabi, Dr. Sirajuddin Opatokun of Australia, my acting Professor Onibo Nasruddin, please stand up for recognition. Thank you so much for your support all the time. This is Acting Vice Chancellor, New Lagos State University of Education. Thank you, sir. Professor Abdulatif Adeyemo, that's the former president of IIUM alumni and all executives that served with me under his chairmanship. Dr. Idris Abba, President IIUM alumni, Provost and Maid Marichamas Shetima Ilimuye of Unguru Emirate of Yobe State. Professor Fatah Ababa, Dr. Saleh, they are all my alumni. Professor Jalil Yusuf and his wife, Professor Jalil Amuda and his wife, I thank you all, and all other alumni. To my academic colleagues, Professor Awa Yusuf, I think you have been recognized, a lot of you, Professor Jimba, Professor Alessandra of NDA, they've been engaging me in external examination at those universities and institutions. Sheikh Abdul Rauf Rufai, aka Abu Mazida, please stand up for recognition. AKA Abu Mazida, thank you, sir. Yeah, Sheikh, thank you, God bless you. My disciplinarian, Dr. Eli Balogun, I thank you all my secondary school alumni, Colonel Muti Oloyede, Mrs. Ganiyat Olurode, and a lot of others. My president, Oladeni Olarewaju, Akin Bakari of UK, Dr. Obitade, Teslim UK, Laide UK, and all of you. Sunday Oyinbo, I thank all of you. BC, Oduwaye, and Titi, I thank you all. You are too numerous to mention. I can go on and on, but cannot stop without mentioning some of my awesome colleagues. Some of them are doctors, some of them are doctors in the making. Dr. Vivian, I don't know, she has a delayed flight. I don't know if she's here. Dr. Vivian, I know that Antonia is here. Antonia, Simiat is unavailably absent. Wilson, Mr. Olusoya, my 2 times campaign manager. Where is Mr. Olusoya? 2-time campaign manager. Thank you. Thank you so much for being chief. She campaigned for me the 2 times and I won the 2 times. Thank you so much. Dr. Majevi, hello, Dr. Tude Bakare, my HOD, Ajuda, thank you. I cannot forget the late Dr. Abdulhadi Adejoke of the Department of Economics, as well as Professor Landy, who left before he died. And recently we lost Professor Joseph Onwe. May the Almighty God repose their souls. Dr. Ricky Amamai, host of others, all members of the Faculty of Social Sciences, I thank you all. Dr. Yebode, Dr. Eze Mazel, Mr. Chukunka, I thank you all. Dr. Ebele, thank you so much, I thank you. And then I thank my dean, Dr. Etila Musishohaibu, professor in the making, thank you so much. Many thanks to other likes Mrs. Merari. Mrs. Merari seems not to be around. Mrs. Boro, stand up for recognition. They are always with me at any program I organize. These are women breaking the barriers. Mrs. Ileka, Ajia Bashir, Mrs. Olowola, Mama Auditor, retired. Thank you. Mrs. Idayat Busari, Deputy Bossa, Mrs. Adia Todumbako, my FO then, Femi Oyedipe, Yemi Yusuf, Fatima Yusuf, Yakubu, I thank you all. I thank you. Dr. Fatima Makwe of Frontliner, Dr. Wasil of Nile, Dr. Kenneth, and also of others. My former HOD, Dr. Nagiza, Professor Ben, I thank you all. And I want to thank especially my research assistant, 2 of them, Ramat Aide and Aziz Ajayi, who is currently in UK. You are all too numerous to mention. I cannot forget to thank my big 6, Professor Medina Akindele Abdurrahim. Please stand up for recognition. Thank you. All the way from University of Ilori. Thank you so much. And I want to thank Alaji Abola Muse. They're my big 6. And big thank you to Eno, Desmond, Peter, Cecilia, and all my security and environmental officers from Lagos and even right here in Abuja. I appreciate you all. I wish to place on record my thanks to my PhD students. Are you in the all my PhD students? And now doctors. Please wave. Thank you so much. And MSc too. Thank you so much. God bless you. You have 2 numbers to mention actually, so let me save some time. Professor Akim Tijani, you are a great mentor. I want to thank Professor James Landy, like I've said, and Joseph Onwe. Can we just give them just a few minutes of silence, please? May their gentle souls rest in perfect peace. They particularly Lord, the 2 of them from the department, brought to my journey. Professor Tanglan, Professor Mafiana, Professor Kagare, I can go on and mention people. Professor Mande, Dr. Gladima, my honorable registrar. He called me yesterday and said, "Oh, I'm missing your inaugural lecture." Mrs. Leka, I don't know you are there. Please stand up for recognition, please. She's always at my program. God bless you, ma. God bless you, ma. Thank you so much. My great DPC Technology, Innovation and Research, that's my sister. Thank you so much for your support. And I want to thank the Muslim community of NOUN and the whole community as well, the whole noun community. I love you all, and I want to thank you. I want to thank God that has given me this opportunity to meet you all and for imparting me positively one way or the other. Mr. Vice Chancellor, sir, your words of encouragement in 2019, shortly, you may not remember, but I keep this to my heart. Shortly before the FSS second international conference that I organized, the usher in rector of Morgan State University, Dr. Davis Wilson, and Professor Bogoro, former TED Fund ES, you said, and I quote, "We are watching your activities from afar, and we are proud of you." That really sinks down to tell me to keep doing more and not to be discouraged. Thank you, sir. My darling love, Professor Ibrahim Olatunde-Uthman, can you stand up again this time around? Thank you. You are the pillar that has not allowed my educational development to give way. You stood solidly behind me to achieve lots of feats, not just the professorial cadre. Your encouragement and support went beyond my imagination of your promises way back in 1994 on ensuring that I get to the peak of my academic career. Your dream of being called professor, or for us, being called professor and professor Mrs. right from the first month of our marriage, 28 years ago, has become a reality. Your decision to give education topmost priority in the family finances shows well how prudent you are in economic financing and what finance has got to do with it. Jazakallah khairan fi dunya wal akhirah. To my children, your sacrifices are not in vain. Basira, where are you? Adesina, Oloyede, Al-Akbar, An-Nur, Al-Azan, Al-Muqsin, Al-Migdad, Zainab, Kausar, Nafisa, Al-Jannah. May Allah make you all greater than us. To my sweet mother, Alaja Risikat Adesina, my siblings, Mrs. Medina Oyelaki, my sister, please stand up for recognition. That's my big sis, huh? The second mother I have. Thank you so much for your support. Mr. Dipo Adejoke, you cannot make it to come. Mrs. Rashida Shogolu, Honorable Said Adesina, represented by the wife. I don't know where she is. Yeah, honorable. Oh, maybe she's on an errand. Okay, thank you so much. Wave from where you are. Thank you. And Mr. Rashid Oleyede and his family, thank you so much. I want to recognize and say thank you. I've mentioned his name before. I think he came in late. He's the head of IITA in Abuja here. He was part of those who sponsored my PhD, my Vice Chancellor. Please, I welcome Professor Latif Sani, the head of IITA Abuja. To all the Adesinals, the Adedoyins, the Oloyedes, the Akintudes, and the Arijemagbagbiore and the Uthman's family, thank you. The Vice Chancellor, sir, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I thank you all for listening to Omo Mameleso and late Baba Onirin. God bless you all. God bless NOUN. God bless Oyo State. God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Well, thank you very much. Our inaugural lecturer, to fill those names out, maybe a record 2 or 3 times, it really shows how grateful you are to these people.
Please give her another round of applause, please. Yes, you may be seated, please. Thank you very much. I don't know where to start, but there are one or two scores I have to settle this afternoon. Yes, she's already hiding her face, but I'm going to sort out that score. Now, you know, when we started this, I told you that I don't know from where she was going to take it because I hadn't really gotten myself involved in what she was going to say. But it's rather interesting that from what I heard and what you others also heard, what our professor, erudite professor, has told us today is basically your finances. Where your heart, I wrote something here in one of my notes. She made allusion to it. And he said, so I'm going to start from here. He said, where your heart is, I'm sure many people can make that conclusion. Where your heart is usually where your money is. All right, and that is what she's trying to tell us today. And she essentially talked about the distribution of wealth. And she tried to provide some answers to the globalization of finances. And she said that she found out in many of her researches that government is momentously significant to economic growth. And the question therefore is, hasn't finance got to do with that? And she went ahead to say that there are so many things she found out, which basically is a means of comparison two different sets of financial resources. And one of them she delved most of her time on was that of the Sukuk, Islamic bonds, and what it offers to the matter or to the issue of mobilization and allocation of resources. what has finance got to do with it, she said. And in those matters, she was fortunate. Ganiyat was a fortunate researcher in that she had ample opportunity to be able to delve into this matter of finance that is just taking root in our part of the world. And so we really have to give her that she's one of the pioneers in that particular area. Because we were totally familiar with the established Bretton Woods philosophy and practices. And what she has told us is that you have to choose between capitalism and socialism, if I don't want to use the word economics there. And her conclusion, she further delved into such issues by, she's female, gender, national growth, and the mass upliftment of population. So the question is, if you are to arrive, if you are to use this on egalitarianism, which of these social indices will you go to? That is really what she has said. One of the things I found very interesting is the study that she made during the COVID. And she said that the most preferred strategy was to take salary advance. No wonder every morning I my table for people. I think they must have been part of the research listing of their sister. I want to thank you for very listening to this wonderful speech. There are two things happening today, which I'm going to delve away from. One is I'm going to query Alaja Oloyede for being in Abuja without telling me. So, and I'm going to remove 1 day's salary. I hope the other party is not hearing to what I'm saying. So I just saw her accidentally and I said, I didn't know that she was coming. So we are going to do that. Now, after today, the wonderful thing is that today is the birthday of Professor Ganiyat-Uthman. And we are going to go away from the normal protocol. We are going to sing happy birthday to her. So I want you to please get up and I start. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy day to you. Happy birthday to you. Please sit down. Thank you very much, Ganiyat. There is a reception after this event at one of our offices. I hope I'm still correct. And our dear Egbon, my dear Egbon, Professor Oloyede, the JAM registrar, is going to be the chair of that particular occasion. We want to welcome Mama to Abuja and to the university where your daughter is applying her trade. God will take you back to Lagos if that is where you came from. And I want to thank everybody that has been here as well. Thank you very much for taking your time to visit one of our custodian ceremonies we do in our university. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Vice Chancellor, sir. That signals almost the end of proceedings here. But before we close eventually with the vote of thanks from the Deputy Vice Chancellor in charge of academic, let me kindly use this forum to recognize the Chairman National Hajj Commission, Alhaji Zirkullah Kunli Hassan. Let me also recognize Professor Ladi, the former DG of the Nigerian Institute of Legislative Studies. Let me kindly recognize Professor Latif Soni. He is the Abuja Station representative of the International Institute of Tropical Agriculture. Well, as we close, may I invite the Deputy Vice Chancellor in charge of academic, Professor Uduma Oju Uduma, for a vote of thanks, sir. Okay. Just a minute, sir, but you'll combine that that action. You will invite the inaugural lecturer as well to present officially the lecture to the Vice Chancellor.
Mr. Vice Chancellor, sir, all distinguished professors, our guests, the inaugural lecturer, thank you for this opportunity. Permit me to perform this singular task of a formal presentation of the 19th National University of Nigeria inaugural lecture by the lecturer to the Vice Chancellor.
Mr. Vice Chancellor, sir, I hereby present to you the 19th inaugural lecture of National Open University of Nigeria, titled, "What Has Finance Got to Do with It?"
Yes, my job has already been performed as usual. But one thing I noticed is there is no way in academics or what we do in academics that Buffon's maxim, "Stow it, the style is the man," is actually demonstrated except in the inaugural lecture. The style is the man. We have seen the style of today. And so on that, I want to thank the inaugural lecturer. One thing you noticed about this inaugural lecture is it is one that has drawn people more from outside. If you look at the crowd here, so many important people, so many people from outside National University of Nigeria. We want to thank you for the solidarity. We want to thank you for being our university. And we pray that as you, our good God will grant you journey mercies. On that note, I want to thank all the deans for their support, all the directors, the non-community, and particularly the Vice Chancellor for giving us all the support to make sure that the inaugural lecture is a success. We are moving forward. We had one last month, we have another one, and there are two others already in the pipeline. That is the tradition of a university. So I am commending our professors. Let us come and profess why we are professors by delivering our inaugural lectures. Thank you for coming. May you enjoy God's mercies in all that you do. Thank you very much.
And on that note, we've come to the end of business here, but let me announce here that there will be a reception for a few of the dignitaries here present at the Senate chambers of the Professor Vincent Ado Kennedy Senate building, please, shortly after this gathering here. On that note, may I kindly request that we all be on our feet for the NAUN anthem, followed by the national anthem. The national anthem, please. And that brings us to the end of business here, business of the 19th inaugural lecture at the National Open University of Nigeria today, as presented by Professor Ganiyat. May we please remain standing as the Vice Chancellor's procession takes its leave in a reverse order. We want to thank each and every one of you for finding time to join us here today on the occasion of this 19th inaugural lecture. As you travel back to your respective destination, we're wishing you a safe journey back to your destination.